Have
Yes.
you experienced any culture shock when you first arrived in Thailand?
Oh, it's a very good question. I mean, when I think about when I first came to Thailand, so that was 10 or 11 years ago that I was first in Chiang Mai.
Mm-hmm.
Any culture shock? I would say something, that we've talked about before, but it has to be said. To do with like Thai people maybe asking things that we wouldn't ask back in the UK. I mean, things like, do you have a boyfriend? Like, to be honest, it's not a big deal. I'm not serious about it. But it's still I wouldn't say it was culture shock. It was just more like, oh, wow.
Surprising.
Yes, like, exactly. I would say it was just more like surprising. And maybe just about like appearance. Again, we've talked about this before, but it has to be said that, I mean, Thai people are just very open, like with regards to like, oh, you look amazing. So it can work both positive and negative. Like if you look nice, then a Thai person will like, oh, wow, you look so nice. You look so beautiful. But on the other hand, if you've put on weight, you're looking fatter, then sure, Thai people will probably tell you.
อ้วนขึ้นนะผอมลงนะ something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so it's not culture shock exactly. It's more just something that, I was surprised by, because people always think of Asian people and Thai people as being more reserved than Western people. And so this is something which I find very interesting, because some people, people kind of have this idea like Thai people, Asian people are just like so quiet, so reserved, and that Western people, they're very straightforward. And it's interesting because on the one hand, we are, but then on the one hand, I would say that Thai people are more straightforward.
Right.
And I think maybe it depends on the topic. It may depend on like the dynamics, depending on the hierarchy. I really think there's so many factors in what situations Thai people are more straightforward. But I would definitely say that, when some Thai students, they say to me like, oh, but English people are so like straightforward and so open. And I'm like, but so are Thai people. For me in general, I find that people are happy to ask me things. And so like I said, I think it maybe depends on the situation. It may depend on the topic. So I think it's not a culture shock. It was more interesting that Thai people were much more open than I had imagined, in both a positive, like it can be like a positive thing, obviously, that Thai people are not like quiet and innocent. Like some people imagine like, oh, Asian people, they're so like, that they don't talk, they don't ask questions, but no.
It depends. It totally depends. Like, yes. I agree 100%. And I feel like when we talk about culture, I think we tend to generalize. I think that's an interesting thing,
exactly.
Right? We tend to generalize that. Or sometimes Americans will be saying British people are more reserved. It depends as well, right? Or more posh, more, I don't know. It depends on the person. It depends on the situation. It depends on the topic. So I would say there are a lot of variation. And when we think about culture, just like you said, when we think about culture, if we generalize that Thai people is supposed to be this way only, or Asian people is supposed to be this way only, or British people, Western people is supposed to be this way, I think we'll get confused, and we tend to, I don't know if it's called stereotyping, maybe?
It is. Exactly, it is. Exactly, it is.
Stereotyping, saying like all people from this same group, this culture, it's all the same. It's not.
Exactly, definitely. But there's so many things about Thai culture. And like I said about to do the openness, it was actually kind of surprising in like a positive way that I was like, oh, wow, Thai people are really open and direct and straightforward. And I like that. I really do. I appreciate that.
ถ้าได้ประโยชน์จากวิดีโอนี้ชอบเนื้อหาแบบนี้กด subscribe กดไลค์กดกระดิ่งแจ้งเตือนจะได้ไม่พลาดคอนเทนต์ต่อไปของฝรั่งอังมอให้ทุกคนได้เรียนรู้และเก่งขึ้นไปด้วยกันนะคะ Happy learning